The smell was the only thing the witness was sure about. Not the face, not the shoes, not the direction the man ran. The smell. "Sharp," Jamie had said on the 911 call, voice shaking but stubborn. Like solvent, like nail polish remover. It hit me at 10:10 p.m. Exactly 10:10. I looked at my phone because it made my eyes water. Now, in the fourth-floor hallway outside Unit 5, the air smelled like damp drywall and cheap carpet shampoo, cleanup, not crime. But the vent above the door still carried a faint chemical bite, as if the building hadn't finished exhaling. Alex stood beneath the register and listened to the place breathe. The low hum of the HVAC, the distant thump of a compressor cycling, the soft draft that teased a strip of caution tape left hanging from a doorknob. A paramedic wheeled an empty gurney past him, wheels squeaking like a complaint. Downstairs, someone was arguing with an insurance adjuster. The whole building felt like it wanted to return to normal. Fast, like normal was a kind of anesthesia. Across from Alex, Nora from building management held a ring of keys as if it could protect her from blame. "We've already given you access," she said. "Maintenance was here all night. Tenants are filming. The owner wants this closed out today." On the stairwell landing, Jamie waited with a paper cup of water, eyes red and wet. Whether it was from fumes or fear didn't matter. It looked the same. "I know what I smelled," Jamie insisted, louder than necessary. "And I know when. 10:10. If you're saying I'm wrong, then you're saying I'm lying." Alex didn't think Jamie was lying. He thought Jamie was standing on a timestamp like it was solid ground, because people do that when everything else feels like it's moving. But Alex had been in enough buildings to know something most witnesses don't. Air has its own laws, and smell is just a chemical hitchhiker, riding whatever currents the building decides to give it. He glanced at the vent again, then at the hallway. If Jamie's timing was off by even 10 minutes, the whole story changed. An alibi cracks. A suspect moves from outside to already inside, and the building's accident starts looking like a choice. Alex stepped toward the door, but his eyes stayed on that vent. Because the danger wasn't only what happened in Unit 5. It was what the building might be hiding in the spaces between. Alex wasn't a cop who loved people. He was a cop who loved patterns. Before arson, before the badge, he'd spent a few years in a lab program he never finished. Chemistry courses, airflow models, the kind of quiet math that explains why smoke crawls along ceilings and why "I smelled it first" doesn't always mean what people think it means. Then his father got sick. Tuition turned into hospital bills, and Alex traded equations for a radio and a sidearm. He still carried the habit, though. He watched how rooms behaved. That habit made him valuable. It also made him inconvenient. Right now, in the corridor outside Unit 5, the convenient story was already writing itself. A maintenance crew had been repainting the apartment all week. They'd stored solvent. Someone left a cap loose. Fumes built up. Somebody got dizzy, knocked something over. Emergency call. Minor injuries. Done. File it. Forget it. Nora wanted that story because the building wanted that story. A hazard incident meant inspections, fines, angry tenants, vacancy. The owner's money had teeth, and Nora wore the bite marks. "Detective," she said, too polite. "This is a residential property, not a crime scene. Nobody died." "Not yet," Alex replied, and heard how dramatic it sounded in the sterile hallway. He hated that. He hated needing drama to buy himself time. His phone buzzed. It was Vic, his supervisor, texting without hello. "Owner's counsel called. Keep it tight. No theatrics. We don't need a headline." Pressure from above always came dressed as advice. Alex's job had been threatened before, not for being wrong, but for being slow. Last month, he'd pushed back on an open and shut case and embarrassed the department when his extra testing proved an accelerant they'd missed. He'd been right. And he'd been punished anyway, because being right too loudly makes everyone else look careless. If he turned this hallway incident into an investigation and it turned out to be a loose solvent cap, he'd be the guy who cried hazard. He'd lose what little patience his unit still had for him. He'd lose the work he actually cared about. Jamie shifted on the stairwell, jaw clenched. "I'm not making this up," they said. 10-10. I'd bet my life on it. Alex looked at Jamie's red eyes and trembling hands. He thought of how smell can travel faster or slower depending on heat, humidity, and whether a fan is pushing it like a secret. He pictured another tenant opening their door into an invisible cloud and taking a breath they couldn't undo. He held up a hand to Jamie, gentle, not dismissive. "I believe you smelled something," he said. "I'm just not sure the building agrees with your clock." Nora's keys clinked as she stepped forward. "Detective, with respect, you're holding up restoration." Alex met her stare. "With respect, you're trying to restore a building that might still be leaking." Then he turned toward the vent again, made a decision, and felt the ground shift under him. If he was going to challenge time, he'd have to prove it, right here in front of everyone who wanted him to stop. Alex didn't start with theories. He started with something the hallway couldn't argue with. He asked Nora for a spare key to Unit 5. Nora hesitated like the metal teeth on the ring had suddenly grown opinions. "We already had maintenance in there. The place is safe." "Then this will take 30 seconds, Alex said. She didn't like it, but she liked a complaint on record even less. She unlocked the door and stood aside with the posture of someone who wanted witnesses to see she was cooperating. Inside, the apartment smelled cleaner than it should for a place that had triggered a 911 call. Fresh paint and lemon disinfectant, layers of nothing to see. But under it, faint and sharp, was the chemical note Jamie described. Alex moved through the room slowly, palm hovering near vents and door cracks without touching. The air felt warmer near the bathroom, cooler near the kitchen. That told him something important before he even looked up. He found the thermostat on the hallway wall. The screen glowed. Heat. Nora frowned. "It's winter. People set it to heat." "Yeah," Alex said. "And heat changes how fast smell moves." Mara, who had arrived a minute ago after Alex's call, leaned in from the doorway, arms crossed. "Don't tell me you're about to do a science fair project." "I'm about to stop us from arresting the wrong person," Alex replied. He pulled a small travel atomizer from his kit. Not perfume, not anything dramatic. Just a neutral, safe scent marker. Something that didn't sting eyes, but was distinct enough to notice. The kind of tool you carry when you've learned that people believe their noses more than they believe you. Jamie watched from the hallway, tense. "What is that?" "A stopwatch you can smell," Alex said. He asked Mara to stand in the hallway by the stairwell, where Jamie claimed the odor hit first. He asked Nora to stand closer to the elevator, another possible path for air. Alex himself stood inside Unit 5, near the bathroom doorway, because that was where the faint chemical bite was strongest. "Phone's out," he said. "Open your clock app. Don't round, don't guess." Nora scoffed, but she did it. Mara did it without expression. Jamie did it with the seriousness of someone taking an oath. Alex closed the bathroom door until it was almost shut, leaving a thin gap. He waited until the HVAC hummed louder, then steadied his hand and gave the atomizer one short spray into the bathroom air. Nothing else changed. No smoke, no sirens. Just an invisible cloud of molecules spreading the only way it knows how. From packed together to spread out. High concentration to low concentration. Like a crowd leaving a stadium. Alex stepped back, counted under his breath. 10 seconds. 20. 30. In the hall, Nora's face twitched first. An involuntary reaction, like her nose spotted something her pride didn't want to admit. She started, then stopped herself. Time, Alex said. 48 seconds, Nora muttered. Mara called out from farther down the hall. 1 minute 12. Jamie blinked hard. I got it at 1 minute 30. Alex nodded. Same building, same smell. Different times, because you're standing in different currents. Mara frowned. So what? So, Alex said, if the HVAC was running harder last night, if heat kicked on, if a fan switched, if a door opened, your 1010 could slide. Forward or backward, smell doesn't stamp the moment something happened. It stamps the moment air delivered it to your face. Jamie's shoulders tightened. Are you saying I can't trust what I felt? I'm saying you can trust it, Alex replied, voice softer. Just not like a clock, like a trail. A trail that depends on wind. Nora's eyes sharpened. This is ridiculous. You can't rewrite a witness statement with perfume. Alex looked up at the vent above the living room. The grate was slightly skewed, one screw newer than the others. Someone had been inside it recently. He felt the choice settle in his chest. He could let Nora push the cleanup story, let the department call it accidental fumes, let everyone go home. Or he could do what he always did. Follow the physics into the ugly spaces people don't want opened. Alex stepped onto a chair, reached up, and began unscrewing the vent cover. Alex, Mara warned quietly, you're stepping over a line. He didn't stop. He held the grate in his hands like a lid off a secret and said, then somebody better tell me why this vent was touched after the call. And with that, he entered the game for real. Step 1. New clue to new risk, approximately 270 words. The vent cover came off with a soft metallic sigh, and a sprinkle of drywall dust drifted down like gray snow. Alex aimed his flashlight into the duct. Something inside caught the beam, freshly scuffed metal, and a smear along the inner lip where gloved fingers had dragged. Not old grime, not years of neglect. Recent. Nora's keys clinked as she shifted her weight. That vent gets cleaned, she said quickly. We had restoration. Restoration doesn't happen inside an HVAC run at 2 in the morning. Mara cut in. Alex reached in carefully and hooked out a thin strip of black foam, weather stripping, the kind people jam into gaps to block drafts. It was wedged like a cork. Someone tried to choke the airflow, Alex said. Jamie stared at it. Why would anyone do that? Alex didn't answer right away, because the risk was already forming. If the airflow was blocked, smell wouldn't spread normally. It would pool, concentrate, then surge when the obstruction was removed. That could make Jamie's 1010 feel like a clean timestamp, even if the chemical was released earlier or later. Alex looked at the thermostat again. Heat. Warm air rises, rides ceilings, finds returns. A simple building becomes a complicated river. He stepped into the hallway and sniffed near the register. The chemical note was faint now, but it was there, like a whisper insisting it had been louder before. Who had access to the ducts last night? He asked Nora. Nora's face tightened. Maintenance, emergency crew. There were a lot of people. Names. Mara said. Nora lifted her chin. I can give you a list, but you're acting like this was sabotage. It was an odor complaint. Alex held up the foam strip. This isn't a complaint. This is someone changing the building's lungs. He watched Nora's eyes flick toward the stairwell, toward the tenants, toward the phones recording. The new risk wasn't just someone got the time wrong. The new risk was that someone had shaped the airflow on purpose, and whatever they'd moved with it might still be in the building. They found the maintenance log in a cramped office off the lobby, where the air smelled like burnt coffee and cheap printer ink. Nora flipped through the binder with fast, irritated fingers. See? Routine checks, filter changes, nothing dramatic. Alex didn't look at the pages at first. He looked at the ceiling vent above the desk. It was spotless, too spotless, like someone had wiped it down in a hurry. Last night, Alex said. Who was on call? Nora pointed. Drew. He's our overnight guy. They found Drew in the parking lot, leaning against his truck, jaw working on a toothpick like it owed him money. He wore a maintenance hoodie and the defensive boredom of someone who'd been blamed for everything at least once. I didn't touch any ducts, Drew said immediately. Alex didn't argue. He just held up the black foam strip. Drew's eyes snagged on it for half a second, too quick for most people to notice, but not for Alex. That yours? Mara asked. Drew scoffed. Looks like trash. Alex took a different angle. Jamie smelled solvent at 10:10. Where were you at 10:10? Drew didn't hesitate. Basement, mechanical room. The heat was acting up. Jamie's head snapped up. The heat? Drew shrugged. Whole building was cold, then hot, then cold again. Thermostat calls were blowing up. I was resetting the air handler. That cracked the simple story clean in half. If the HVAC was cycling hard, shutting dampers, ramping fans, changing pressure, then smell timing wasn't a straight line. It was a staircase. Pool, surge, drift, stall. Alex turned to Nora. You said the building was stable. Nora's voice sharpened. I said it was safe. Mara stepped closer. Do you have records of those resets? Drew spat the toothpick out. System logs, if they weren't overwritten. Alex felt the floor tilt under the convenient explanation. This wasn't just diffusion, molecules wandering from high to low like bored commuters. This was forced ventilation, air being pushed and pulled, doors being opened, dampers being tweaked, meaning Jamie's memory could be honest and still wrong. Meaning the real question wasn't, when did Jamie smell it? It was, who had the power to decide when anyone smelled anything at all? The system logs should have been the easy part. They weren't. Nora led them to a locked closet labeled HVAC Controls and tried the key twice before it turned. Inside, a small terminal screen glowed green, showing fan cycles and damper positions, exactly the kind of boring evidence that becomes priceless when someone lies. Alex leaned in. The last 24 hours were blank. Not no events, not normal. Blank. Mara's face went still. That's not a glitch. Nora's hands clenched around the key ring. We have automatic data retention. It clears every 30 days, Alex finished. Not every 12 hours. A voice from the doorway said, Detective, you're making a lot out of very little. A man in a clean coat stood there with a tablet under one arm and a smile that looked professionally practiced. His name was Calvin, printed on a badge that didn't look like it belonged in a maintenance closet. Building representative? Nora said quickly, as if introducing a lifeboat. Calvin's eyes flicked to Alex's flashlight, to Mara's badge, to Jamie hovering behind them. We're cooperating fully, he said. But this is becoming disruptive. Tenants are anxious. Rumors spread faster than facts. Alex didn't like the phrasing. It sounded like someone who thought in messaging, not safety. "Why are the logs wiped?" Alex asked. Calvin's smile didn't change. "Software update overnight. It happens." Mara's voice went cold. "An update that deletes incident windows?" Calvin shrugged. "I'm not an engineer. I'm here to prevent misunderstandings." He stepped closer, lowering his voice just enough to feel like a threat wrapped in politeness. "Your supervisor called. He'd appreciate it if you kept this within scope. An odor incident is not a criminal investigation." Alex felt pressure from above tighten, Vic's text from earlier, now wearing a human face. Calvin glanced at Jamie. "And we should be careful not to intimidate residents into changing their statements." Jamie flushed. "I'm not changing anything." Alex watched Calvin the way he watched Vence. For direction, for force, for what he was trying to move. This was the opponent entering the hallway, not with a weapon, with control of access, control of narrative, and a quiet goal: keep the building's breathing boring. Alex didn't have logs, so he built his own. In the laundry room, long and narrow, with a ceiling return vent at one end, he staged a simple reconstruction, not for drama, for geometry. He placed 3 volunteers at measured distances: Jamie by the stairwell door, Mara mid-room, Drew near the return. Nora refused, but she watched from the doorway like a judge. Alex used a safe scent marker again, one short spray, this time near the floor, where heavier, cooler air clings. Then he asked Drew to flip the fan from auto to on at Alex's signal, the same kind of change a stressed technician might make at night without thinking. "Ready," Alex said. "Clocks." He sprayed. 20 seconds passed. Nothing. Then Drew switched the fan. The air changed instantly, felt, not heard. A draft pulled toward the return like the room had developed a preference. Mara smelled it first this time. Jamie second. Drew last, despite being closest before. Jamie's eyes widened. "How?" "Because the fan decided," Alex said. "Not your nose." Nora's mouth opened, then closed. Alex pointed at the ceiling return. If someone blocked a duct, then unblocked it at a chosen moment. If someone cycled the system, Jamie's timeline can be manufactured. Not with lies, with air. Mara stared at the vent like it might confess. Then Calvin's voice came from behind them. "This has gone far enough?" He was holding his phone up, recording. "You're conducting experiments on private property with residents present. That's liability. That's harassment. That's..." Mara stepped toward him. "Turn that off." Calvin smiled. "No. I think your department will want to see how you're operating." And there it was. The price. Alex could stop now, stay within scope, let the odor incident die as paperwork. Or he could keep pushing, knowing every step forward would be used against him. He thought of what else could ride on air: gas, carbon monoxide, something that doesn't announce itself with a sting. He looked at Jamie. "Last night, did you hear the fan change? A click, a hum starting?" Jamie swallowed. "Yeah, I thought it was normal." Alex nodded once. It wasn't. He turned to Mara, voice quiet but absolute. "Someone manipulated the ventilation. That means someone was here in control at a time we haven't pinned down." Mara held his gaze, understanding the implication. The knowledge moved the case forward. And it also painted a target on both of them. Alex expected pushback. He expected paperwork threats, a stern call from Vic, maybe a lecture about scope. He didn't expect the building itself to answer back. It happened an hour after the laundry room reconstruction, when most tenants had retreated behind their doors and Nora was making calls with a voice sweet enough to hide panic. Alex and Mara stood in the hallway outside Unit 5 again, staring at the vent like it might blink. Drew had gone quiet. Too quiet. He was leaning near the stairwell, arms folded, eyes locked on the ceiling register above the exit sign. The kind of stare people get when they're counting down without admitting it. "What's wrong?" Alex asked. Drew didn't look away. "You ever hear a system do that?" "Do what?" Mara said. Then Alex heard it. A thin, uneven hiss, like someone dragging a finger along a balloon. Not loud, not dramatic, just wrong. The air handler kicked on somewhere below, and the hiss became a steady rush. Jamie stepped into the hall, drawn by curiosity like a moth. "Is it fixed?" "No," Drew said. His voice sounded different now, not defensive, resigned. "It's not fixed, it's open." Alex's eyes went to the thermostat display down the hall. The setting had changed. Someone had bumped it from heat to fan on. No one admitted touching it, and the air coming from the register above them didn't feel warm anymore. It felt cold, too cold for winter heat mode. Alex stepped onto the same chair he'd used before, podnyal fonar, and aimed it into the vent slot without removing the cover. The beam caught something pale inside the ductwork. Not dust, not insulation. A plastic cylinder taped to the metal, with a short hose disappearing deeper into the run. For a second, his brain tried to protect him by offering harmless explanations. Deodorizer, pest control, some stupid maintenance hack. Then the smell hit, not the faint, sharp bite from earlier. This was heavier, sweeter, like a solvent that had learned to smile. It filled the hallway faster than it should, like the building had been holding its breath and finally decided to exhale. Mara covered her mouth. "Everyone out," she barked, already backing toward the stairs. "Jamie, move!" Jamie blinked, confused, then coughed as their eyes watered. Alex's heart slammed. This wasn't an odor incident. This wasn't about a witness being off by 10 minutes. This was delivery. Someone had planted a source in the ducts. And now, after Alex started asking questions, they'd switched the fan to push it through the building. The twist wasn't just that Jamie's time could be manipulated. The twist was that the same method could be weaponized. And if Alex kept treating this like a slow puzzle, if he waited for warrants and meetings and polite cooperation, people would breathe whatever was coming next. He yanked the vent cover down, screws clattering like hail, and grabbed the taped cylinder through his glove. The plastic was cold, condensed, fresh. A label flashed under the tape. A shipping sticker with no sender name, just a barcode and a number. Mara's phone was already to her ear. "Hazmat," she snapped. "Now. Possible chemical dispersal through HVAC." Calvin appeared at the end of the hall, voice raised, camera out again, until he saw Alex holding the cylinder. For the first time, the professional calm cracked. His smile didn't arrive. "Put that down," Calvin said quietly. "You don't know what it is." "That's exactly why I'm not letting your building keep blowing it into people's lungs," Alex shot back. Calvin's eyes flicked to the stairwell, to the tenants peeking out, to Nora sprinting toward them. "This is going to cause a panic," he hissed. Alex understood the choice, sharp as glass. Option 1, step back, follow procedure, let the building keep breathing poison while lawyers argue about authority. Option 2, shut the system down by force, break locks, trip panels, empty hallways, knowing that if he's wrong, he becomes the villain on every phone screen. He looked at Mara. She looked back, and in her eyes, he saw the same conclusion. There were no good options, only the one where people get to keep breathing. Alex made the decision the way you slap a hand away from a hot stove. Fast, instinctive, without asking for votes. He shoved the cylinder into an evidence bag, tied it off with shaking fingers, and handed it to Drew. Outside, fresh air. Don't open it. Don't be a hero. Drew didn't argue. For once, he moved like a man who understood that air could kill. Mara sprinted for the stairwell and started shouting up and down it, voice echoing through concrete. Evacuate. Now. Leave everything. If you can walk outside. Doors cracked open. Faces appeared. Sleepy, irritated, frightened. Some people tried to debate. Some tried to film. Jamie just stood there coughing, eyes wide, as if their own certainty had turned on them. Nora ran in front of the crowd, like she could hold them back with professionalism. Please remain calm. Stop, Alex snapped. Calm is how people stay in their apartments and breathe. He pushed past her and headed for the basement. The mechanical room door was locked again. Of course it was. Calvin had keys, and Calvin had motive. Alex didn't waste time. He took the Halligan bar from the firefighter arriving with Mara's call and drove it into the lock. The metal screamed, then gave. The door swung open, and the hum of the air handler filled the room like a lie being told smoothly. At the control panel, Alex saw the fan set to on. Manual override. Not an accident. A choice someone made recently, with confidence. He killed the main breaker to the unit's HVAC circuit. The fan whined as it spun down, a long dying breath. The building, finally, stopped men pushing air like a weapon. Upstairs, the coughing softened. The sharp, sweet smell thinned. Tenants poured out into the cold morning, wrapped in blankets and anger, still alive enough to be furious. Hazmat arrived and took the cylinder without commenting on its contents in front of everyone, which told Alex enough. Calvin tried to argue on the sidewalk, about liability, about overreaction. But his words kept getting swallowed by the sound of people realizing they'd been breathing something on purpose. And then the system that had wanted this closed out did what it always did. It protected itself. Vic met Alex later that afternoon, not at the station, but in a quiet diner where the booths were too close and the coffee tasted like compromise. He didn't sit like a friend. He slid a folded paper across the table. Suspension. Pending review. Unauthorized forced entry. Property damage. Procedural violations. Alex stared at the words. People could have died. Vic's jaw flexed. And if the cylinder turns out to be non-lethal? If Calvin's lawyers spin this as panic-mongering? You become the headline. We become the department that lets detectives swing crowbars because a witness smelled something. Mara didn't text him back that night. Not because she didn't believe him. Because believing him out loud had a price, and she was still deciding what she could afford. A week later, Alex walked past that building on his day off. New notices were taped to the doors, inspections, temporary closure, tenants relocated. The sidewalk smelled like wet concrete and winter air, nothing sharp, nothing sweet. He thought about Jamie, and how a single sentence had started it all. I smelled it at 10:10. People want time to be a nail you can hang truth on. But air doesn't move like that. Smell doesn't keep appointments. It drifts, it pools, it waits for a fan, a door, a hand on a switch. And sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't what someone saw. It's what they breathed. And who decided when.